discrimination that our LGBTQ sisters and brothers still face. Discrimination in our jobs, schools, and beyond is wrong and will not be tolerated. I'm so proud that New Hampshire has already banned this type of discrimination, and I look forward to voting in the House on the Equality Act to extend these LGBTQ protections nationwide. With that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Chrissy Houlihan from the 6th District of Pennsylvania.
Just a little bit higher. I'm a little taller. It's tricky. Good afternoon. Everyone, it is my pleasure to be here with everyone. All persons born or naturalized in the United States in the villages or law. The equal protection of the laws. That's not Democratic text. That's not Republican text. That is the Constitution. It is the document that we here in Congress have sworn to uphold. Yet in our country, in much of our country, it is still legal in many places for someone to be fired for being LGBTQ. It is still perfectly legal for someone to be denied their American right to equal protection under the law simply because of who they are and who they love. So how can we say that we're doing our uphold? I'm the mother of a gay daughter, my Molly. And there comes a day when you wake up in the United States of America as a mother and you realize that your child, my Molly, could lose her job or be denied housing simply because of who she is and because of who she loves. Across our country, I see you, we see you, I stand for you, we stand for you, I won't stop fighting for you, we won't stop fighting for you. It is my privilege and honor to join my colleagues with my full-throated support of this Equality Act. I'm so happy to be here, and it's my pleasure to introduce Representative Chris Pappas from the New Hampshire 1st.
All right. Thank you. Well, thank you, Chrissy, for being such a staunch ally and for sharing that family about how we can't wait long to achieve full equality in this country. I want to thank my to fully ensure that promise is delivered to each and every American. I myself am afraid that I couldn't live my truth, that I be who I am, that I'd be supported by my family or by my larger community. And it makes a pretty profound statement that I can stand here today as a member of and safety to be able to speak out on these issues. And we've come to this moment where we're on the verge of passing something pretty fundamental. Our patchwork system of state protections have left more than 4 million Americans at risk of employment discrimination in the United States. 7 million Americans without the protections of discrimination in public spaces, and 5.5 million Americans at risk of being denied a mortgage because of who they are or who they love. This is heartbreaking, and this is an injustice that we've got to correct and have to correct now. As a small business owner, as co-chair of the Future of Work Task Force, I can attest that protecting our employees and our customers from discrimination isn't just the right thing to do, it's good for business. If we want to remain competitive in a rapidly changing global economy, if we want to retain our advantage, we must create an inclusive environment that encourages our businesses to recruit and retain the best and the brightest that the U.S. has to offer. That's why I'm grateful for the business leaders who have come together and who stand with us here today, the more than 200 of our nation's leading businesses that have joined this effort and that are on the right side of history supporting the Equality Act. Americans have spoken up loudly and clearly, and now it's time for Congress to do the right thing. It's time for full equality under the law, nothing more and nothing less. Thank you all for being here, and
Than half of the United States, LGBTQ Americans can still be fired, can be denied credit, and evicted from their home simply because of who they are and who they love. What's worse, our nation has seen a proliferation of state laws stripping protections from transgender Americans. Nation to know your entire life could be upended simply because of who you are, or who you love, that you could lose your job for no reason. Well, it happened to someone who now lives in my state. It started when he was a volleyball coach at a college in Virginia. They had just finished a very successful season, and he was fired without explanation. And in Virginia, there's no legal recourse for fired LGBTQ employees. So he, his husband, and their sons moved to Washington State, where there are protections for LGBTQ employees. And I want to move. We need to ensure that LGBTQ Americans have the same rights. That it's time for the Senate and Mitch McConnell to do their jobs and support us in passing legislation that can help American families, and they can do that by passing the Equality
appreciation for the new Democratic coalition and their support for the Equality Act. I also just want to thank all the members who are here and all of the co-sponsors of the Equality Act. I also just want to add our appreciation for IBM, Salesforce, and the National Association of Manufacturers for your endorsement and supported the Equality Act. As Americans, we can all agree that discrimination is wrong. But in 30 states today, LGBTQ people remain at risk of being fired from our jobs, evicted from our homes, or denied services simply because of who we are. No one's fundamental rights should depend on which side of a state line they live on, and that's why we need the Equality Act now. This bill is grounded in common sense, and it's rooted in our most fundamental shared value of equal justice under law. The Equality Act has the support of more than 280 members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans. It has the support of more than 500 medical, child welfare, religious, and social justice organizations. It has the bipartisan support of 7 out of 10 Americans, including majorities in every single state in this country. And today, I am excited to announce that HRC's Business Coalition for the Equality Act has surpassed more than 200 leading companies urging Congress to pass the Equality Act. These companies have operations in all 50 states, headquarters in 29 states, a combined $4.5 trillion in revenue, and employ more than 10.4 million people in the United States. These top employers know that protecting their employees and customers from discrimination isn't just the right thing to do, but it's the right thing to do for business as well. In America, we share a belief that every person should have a fair chance to earn a living, to provide for their families, and to live their lives free from discrimination. At its core, that's what this bill is all about. And that's why we urge Congress to listen to the overwhelming majority of the American people and pass the Equality Act now. It is now my honor to bring to the stage President for Relations Force.
Do our business, and that includes in my home state of Indiana. We've taken on this responsibility because Salesforce employees deserve to be treated equally under the law, no matter where they live or where they work. And across our various offices around the country, our employees and our job candidates want to know that they have a vibrant, diverse, and welcoming community for themselves, for their family. That's why we're advocating as a company for clear and consistent protections from LGBTQ discrimination across America. We support the Equality Act so all Americans can be protected from discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, and we applaud the new Democrat coalition for endorsing this legislation. I'm now going to turn it over to another representative from the business community, Chris Padilla from IBM.
Very much. In September 1953, 11 years before the passage of the Federal Civil Rights Act, IBM's CEO, Tom Watson Jr., declared our company's first ever non-discrimination policy on the basis of race or color. In 1984, we declared the same on the basis of gender identity or expression. We are a leader and a believer in equality as a business imperative. And today, 35 years overdue. For our company, like many companies in the Business Coalition, equality is a core value, but it's also a business would we exclude people who have those skills from our workforce simply because of their LGBTQ status? So if companies like ours and Salesforce and others already protect these workers, why do we need a federal law? Well, because not every company does. And because while we as companies can protect employees inside our four walls, we want our employees and their families to have the same civil rights in their communities, in their schools, and in their neighborhoods as they enjoy at work, regardless of which state they happen to live in. We don't want employees to live in fear. And we all have to stand up for equality. IBM is proud.
That we passed the Equality Act. Right now, we'd like to open it up for any questions that folks might have.
To go sit in the hearing for a couple hours?
I answered the vote. The idea is correct, but I grew up saying Thank you.